What's going on with Lando Norris?
This could now be close at exit. Press the overtake button.
Through goes Oscar Piastri.
Did he have a slow start?
Lando had a slow start, yeah.
Lando, we're going to re-establish the order.
Please let Lando pass, then you're free to race.
I mean, we said that a slow pit stop was part of racing. I don't really get what's changed here, but we really want to do it, then I'll do it.
Those weren't just words. They were Oscar Piastri's cold, clipped radio message during the Italian Grand Prix at Monza. And if you're a McLaren fan or even just an F1 fan, you know what that sentence really meant. It meant frustration. It meant resentment. It meant a young driver, calm, collected, but increasingly pushed to the edge, was being told to step aside for reasons that had nothing to do with racing. And the worst part, this wasn't the first time. Today, we're diving into one of the most explosive controversies of the season. The moment Oscar Piastri and his manager, Mark Webber, drew a line in the sand against McLaren. From shocking team orders, to favoritism whispers, to what this could mean for McLaren's future. This is a story of politics, power, and betrayal brewing under the papaya-coloured surface. Mark Webber is not the type to casually throw grenades into the F1 paddock. Throughout his career he was known as the quiet achiever, a relentless racer, yes, but also someone who often bit his tongue when politics didn't go his way at Red Bull. Remember Multi-21 back in 2013? Webber was the driver forced into the shadows of Sebastian Vettel's rise, his own team orders scandal echoing for years. So when Webber, now Oscar Piastri's manager, steps up and speaks out, you know it's serious. And what did he say? In terms of the number of kilometers spent in the lead, Oscar is well ahead of Lando Norris. Even if the points gap doesn't tell the full story, that's not just a compliment. That's a challenge. That's a subtle but deadly strike at McLaren's hierarchy, calling out what he sees as favoritism toward Norris. Webber was essentially saying, my guy is proving himself on track. He's calmer, he's faster, he's leading more. And yet somehow he's the one being asked to give way. It was a bombshell, and the timing couldn't have been more perfect or more dangerous for McLaren. Let's rewind to Zandvoort. Just a couple of races earlier, Oscar Piastri, the young Australian, stuck his car on pole. Not only that, but he led every lap, controlled the race, and crossed the finish line with the calm efficiency of a driver 10 years his senior. It was a statement win. Meanwhile, Norris was running strong too, right behind him, until his engine let go in a puff of smoke, robbing him of what could have been a vital victory. The result? A 34-point gap opened up between the two McLaren drivers. On paper that gap looked decisive, Norris still ahead in the standings. But here's the thing, points don't always tell the full story. Webber was quick to point out the truth. In terms of laps led, dominance shown, and consistency on track, Piastri was pulling ahead, quietly, efficiently, without theatrics. That was the beginning of the tension. Because when one driver feels like they're outperforming but the team narrative doesn't reflect it, that's where cracks begin to form. Here's where it gets fascinating. Lando Norris has never hidden his personality. He's emotional. He's expressive. He wears his heart on his sleeve, whether that's joy, frustration, or rage. Fans love him for it. He's relatable, marketable, and instantly recognizable as McLaren's golden boy. Oscar Piastri, on the other hand, he's ice, calm under pressure, minimal radio chatter, no unnecessary outbursts, a driver who lets his lap times do the talking. Even Norris himself admitted it. I look more emotional next to him. He's incredibly calm and composed. That contrast matters, because Formula One isn't just about who's faster, it's about who a team wants to back. The emotional star or the quiet assassin. Right now McLaren seems torn, and that conflict exploded into the open at Monza. Italian Grand Prix. Temple of Speed. The stage was set. Lando Norris suffers a slow pit stop, a costly, frustrating delay that has nothing to do with Oscar Piastri. Yet, instead of letting the race play out naturally, McLaren issue the call. Think about that. Why should Piastri pay the price for Norris's misfortune? Why should the driver who had nothing to do with the mistake be asked to give up his position? That's exactly what Oscar asked over the radio. It was reluctant, it was resentful, and it was devastatingly cold. Piastri obeyed. He moved aside, but the message was clear. This wasn't fair. Even Max Verstappen, the king of benefiting from team favoritism at Red Bull, couldn't believe it. When told of the order, he laughed in disbelief.
Just because he had a slow start?
It's not our business, but I guess it keeps it fair between the drivers in terms of championship.
When Verstappen is mocking your team strategy, maybe you've gone too far. Monza wasn't an isolated moment. If you roll back just a few months to the Hungarian Grand Prix in 2024, you'll find the same uncomfortable pattern beginning to form. Oscar Piastri had earned a clean race, built his momentum, and looked set for a result that would solidify his reputation as McLaren's equal, if not outright leader. But then in the heat of Budapest, the call came over the radio. Another order, another sacrifice, another quiet moment where Oscar's race was reshaped, not by performance, not by pace, but by politics. The team defended it, of course. It was the best call for strategy. It helped maximize the team's points. The corporate lines were rehearsed. But if you were watching closely, you could see the look in Piastri's eyes as he stepped out of the car. The body language told a story the press releases never would. Fast forward to Monza, and the parallels are undeniable. A slow pit stop, something entirely out of Oscar's control, becomes his burden to carry. He's told to move aside for Lando Norris, to once again bend his race around someone else's misfortune. Here's the problem. Once is an accident. Twice, that starts to look like a policy. And when a driver of Piastri's caliber notices that policy forming, you're planting seeds of resentment that don't just vanish. They grow, they simmer, and eventually they explode. And the silence afterward, that silence isn't surrender, it's calculation. Because Piastri knows the truth. In Formula One, silence can be louder than shouting. Every time he bites his tongue, every time he swallows the frustration, it adds weight to the inevitable reckoning. The fallout was immediate. Nico Rosberg warned, "Oscar is not going to be happy with that," Jamie Chadwick said. McLaren put themselves in these awkward positions. Social media lit up with Piastri's radio clip dissected like crime scene evidence. Fans weren't just upset, they were furious. The consensus? McLaren were playing favourites. And in a sport as cutthroat as Formula One, favouritism can tear a team apart from the inside out. This is where Mark Webber's Bombshell becomes more than just a soundbite. Because what he's really saying is, if McLaren don't start treating Oscar like the generational talent he is, then someone else will. And let's be honest, every top team on the grid would take Piastri in a heartbeat. Red Bull could see him as Verstappen's eventual replacement. Mercedes could line him up as Hamilton's heir. Ferrari might want him as Leclerc's rival, or even his successor. Piastri is only 24. Calm, composed, already a race winner, already proving himself against one of the grid's most highly rated drivers. His market value is skyrocketing. McLaren can't afford to mess this up, but right now they're dangerously close to doing exactly that. Let's zoom out for a second. Formula One has always been more than just lap times. It's politics, it's power, it's knowing when to play the loyal soldier and when to start a mutiny. History is littered with examples. Red Bull in 2013, Multi-21 Seb. Mark Webber was ordered to hold position behind Sebastian Vettel. Vettel ignored it. Webber obeyed. The team fractured, and the wounds never healed. Mercedes 2016. Hamilton and Rosberg clashed so fiercely that the team had to rebuild its entire management philosophy just to keep the championship alive. Ferrari in the Schumacher era, Rubens Barrichello gave up wins for Michael. It delivered titles, but at the cost of resentment that still shadows Ferrari's reputation. Alonso versus Hamilton 2007. McLaren bet on experience, underestimated youth, and nearly imploded in one season. Now McLaren finds itself at that same crossroads. Do they back the marketable star Norris, or do they recognize the cold efficiency of Piastri before someone else does? Because make no mistake, silence is not weakness, silence is strategy. Every time Piastri stays calm, every time Webber speaks for him, every time fans see that icy look under the helmet, the pressure builds. And so we end where we began, with McLaren facing the most important decision of their modern era. Do they double down on Norris, their poster boy, and risk alienating Oscar Piastri, or do they finally recognize Piastri as the generational talent he's proving to be, and give him equal or even preferential treatment before it's too late? Because history has shown us what happens when teams bet on the wrong driver at the wrong time. They lose, they fracture, they bleed talent, and right now every rival team boss is watching. Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull, they're circling, waiting for McLaren to make the wrong move. If you are Oscar Piastri, would you stay loyal to a team that keeps asking you to step aside, or would you quietly plan your exit, waiting for the right moment to slip into red, silver, or another shade of orange? Let us know in the comments below. And if you want more explosive F1 news and analysis, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss a single update.